I don't think we would have quit our jobs as quick as if we wouldn't have went to that mastermind. And Mark and Tim were like, "Dude, you got to get out of your job." The fear of Mark will do a lot of things to you.
I remember that, man.
Welcome to Motion Matters, where we shine a light on the entrepreneurial journey, sharing real stories of triumph and challenge. Guided by Jamie Tilka, we connect, inspire, and educate. This is Motion Matters.
Hello, and welcome to Motions Matter. This is the entrepreneurial podcast in which we peel back the layers and talk about the entrepreneur journey and all the trials and tribulations that coincide with what it takes to make it there. And today, I'd like to welcome two guests. I have on TJ and Dwayne. I met both of these gentlemen at our first mastermind in Cleveland, Ohio, about a year and a half ago. And it was a small mastermind pop-up, and everybody went around and introduced themselves. And as they did, one of the first things that took everybody by surprise was how young they were and the fact that they were in the game as deep as they are. So with that, I said, man, I really got to have you guys on this podcast show. I think you guys have a ton of value that you can put out there to show other aspiring entrepreneurs and people that are already in the game on how you get in the game. And without further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity to turn it over to Dwayne. Give us a little bit of background. Tell us name, where you're from, how old you are, and what led up to you getting into your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I was born in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and then probably when I was around 11, we would have moved to upstate New York. Currently, I'm almost 22, based out of upstate NY, and we're just, cranking the deals.
So talk to me a little bit, though, about like high school. Like upon graduating high school, what were you guys both inclinations to do? Did you guys say, oh, I'm considering going to college? Did you say I'm going to get a job? You know, how did you get into the business?
So we would go to like a private school. Our school would be done at 8th grade. So when you turn 15, you're done with school. And so at that point, for me anyway, was planning on working for my dad's business. And Dwayne introduced me to the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and read that. And he's like, dude, we should try wholesaling houses. He had come across some content on it. And so we're like, all right, we'll give that a whirl. That's kind of when we got into it. We would have known each other from school, and then after school we would have, hung out together as buddies, and so that's kind of how we kicked it off anyway. Dang.
So I already got a bunch of questions I want to ask. So before we switch back over to Dwayne, answer this for me, TJ. So you essentially, if I'm picking up what you're laying down, you graduated high school when you were 15 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So approximately what was the time frame between graduating high school and your first real estate deal, roughly?
It'd have been probably 4 years. I believe we'd have been, 19. We bought the first place.
Awesome. So that leads into the next question. I'll flip this one back to you, Dwayne. So between graduating high school and your first real estate transaction, what was your intermediary jobs?
I was in masonry at probably when I got out of school from 15 on to 18. Yeah, 18 I was in masonry. Most of those years I was like, well, this is my life. I'm stuck to making 40, 50 grand a year, and I'm just going to go live a life. And I came across the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book and struck a chord, and I said, well, shit, maybe there's more to this life.
That book has resonated with so many people. I can't even imagine. Just out of curiosity, you stumbled upon it, or did somebody tell you, hey, bro, you got to totally read this book? Like, how did that happen?
One of my buddies actually sent me the recording. He was send it over to me, and I took a listen to it. And yeah, no, the book definitely has it's a stepping stone. It doesn't give you a lot of information on how to build wealth, but it's a great starter, I believe.
So let's flip real quick back to TJ. You said you did also listen or read the book, either one. Yeah,
I listened to it from Dwayne. Dwayne sent it to me after he listened to it and was like, dude, you got to check it out.
I want to ask you this question based off of Dwayne's response of that, it's kind of your fundamental, instruction block, if you will. It doesn't, and I definitely think there's truth to that. So I grew up in New York too. I didn't grow up in upstate New York like you guys did, but somewhere's around, Syracuse, Albany area. And I think for me, growing up super poor, to me, it was all about making money in order to be able to change my circumstances, but not necessarily understanding on how do you make that money work for your money. Do you feel like that was your main epiphany of coming out of that book?
I would say so, yeah. It just kind of shifts your perspective on money just enough to make you want to go look for more info on it and start going down that rabbit hole. Because I wouldn't say that it was like a huge perspective shift for me. It just kind of like got the wheels turning a little bit, and then started looking for more info like it. And it's kind of a never-ending search after you get started.
Yeah, for sure, man. Always educating, always learning more. Okay, Dwayne, so talk me through the first deal. How'd you find it?
It was local to my father-in-law, actually. So I was working for my brother-in-law at the time. I worked for him for like 4 years. Came up right down the road from my father-in-law, and well, I don't think he was my father-in-law at that point, but it was just down the road from my brother-in-law's dad, and it came up for sale. He wasn't interested in it, and I thought maybe we'll get a rental and put a tenant in and start the game. Like I didn't really have no long-term vision at that point. It was just like, let's buy a house and see how it works.
Okay, so you stumbled onto this. At this point, you're what, roughly 19 at that time? Is that accurate?
I think I was 18, and
okay,
I didn't have no money. Tristan had the money, so he brought them.
Well, so okay, that's part of what I was going to say. So that's what I want to peel back here. Because again, I'm sure you guys have the same thing. I have tons of people that come up to me and they're like, dude, how did you get in the game? I'm like, dude, I was 6 figures in debt and I had $5 in the bank. Like I couldn't borrow money for a candy bar. So people's curiosity, or they'll come up, right? And they'll be like, oh, I have no money, or I can't find the deals, anyway. So you stumble into this deal. You said you had no money. Tristan or TJ has the money. I'm saying, walk me through a little bit more. How did you guys strategize on how to take it down? Was somebody mentoring you?
One thing he's missing is we were in the wholesaling a little bit. That's kind of how we were trying to wholesale deals. So we were not doing any, we were no good at it. We weren't getting any wholesale deals. We weren't really moving any deals. Everybody we talked to was another wholesaler. And we're like, maybe we should buy it. And we went back and forth kind of like, hey, maybe you buy it and live there. Dwayne's like, oh, he don't really want to live there. It's like, well, maybe I'll buy it as a rental. And then Dwayne's like, dude, why don't we just partner on it? You bring half, I bring half type of thing. And then at that point in time, I'm not sure exactly how we decided. It was probably Dwayne's idea to throw my dad a bone and see if I could get him persuaded to loan Dwayne the money. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a whirl. Pitched my dad. He jumped for it. And yeah, that's kind of how we decided to do the first one. I mean, it was the hardest part definitely was deciding to go for it. And it was probably helped that we were just too dumb to know any better. So
Dude, man, I mean, you can say we were too dumb. I just made this little post the other day. I think the number one thing that challenges everybody is fear, and then they'll never take that first step, right? They're just sitting there contemplating analysis paralysis forever. And then if they do take the step, then, they get all freaked out because one thing didn't go perfectly, which is the whole premise for this podcast, right? Is sharing people's stories and helping other people understand. If you think that you're going to make a decision, an executive decision to be able to get into entrepreneurship and start it, I don't care whether it's starting a coffee shop or, a gutter business, wholesaling, flipping, whatever it is, and think that it's going to go seamlessly, like, yeah, you better you better prepare yourself mentally because that shit ain't going to happen. I know that for sure. But I think it's super interesting and it's super cool that you guys actually did it. And so I want to move on, but at the same time, I just want a little bit more detail about this one. I'm curious. Like, so okay, dad says, yes, I'll fund it. So he covers his portion. Like, how was the deal structured? You said you got it wholesale. So then that means you already have it under contract. Did you seek conventional financing? Did you get a hard money lender? Like, tell me a little bit about how you did that.
Tristan had like 30 to 40 grand sitting. It was a $70,000 purchase. It was probably worth 90. Now it's worth, I think, like 130 or something. But it was a $70,000 purchase. Tristan's dad loaned me 36 grand at 5% for 5 years. So my payment was $700 about. And Tristan had the 40 grand to close it out. So we bought it for 70. We put about 10 grand into rehab. And then we rented it out for $1,400 a month, I believe.
Oh, okay. So you guys just paid cash for it.
Yeah, we bought it cash.
Did you burr it? Did you get your money back out?
It was a double wide, so it took a long time. It was a long circle, but we got the money back out like this past last month, I believe.
Well, that's a great news story right there. I'm assuming between getting the money out last month, there was additional properties you've taken down, though, right?
Yeah.
A couple.
I mean, that property was two and a half years ago.
So this is interesting, though, because so you get your first deal, you take your first deal down. So when you come across the next one, my guess is at that point, you're like, well, shit, all of our stuff is tied up. Like, how are we going to do that one? Is that what happened?
Yep. And I tried to get conventional financing.
How did you solve the problem though? Like that's part I'm interested in peeling back and sharing with people is like, so these are the stereotypical things where people are like, you know what, this is too difficult. I thought it was going to be easier. So talk to me about what you did to get through that next deal.
I found a wholesale deal. It was on Marketplace. Another wholesaler was selling it. I went and took a look at it. He was asking 100, and I believed it was only worth 75 to us. I went back and I negotiated a $70,000 deal. I think we picked it up for 75 again. I just sent shit. So like I was like, this is a good deal. It's probably worth hopefully 120. We picked it up for 75. I went back and I tried to get conventional financing, but nobody would touch me. So I told the wholesaler that I was going to buy it cash, and he was like, oh, yep, cool. We put, I think, 8 grand down as just a deposit, and then as the closing day approached, I finally wrangled 40 grand out of my boss, and I think 20 grand out of Tristan's dad again. And then we funded the rest ourselves.
Nice. Roughly how long was that after your first one?
It was May, I think we got it under contract, and the other one we had bought in October, so it's probably close to 6 months.
At what point did you guys kind of decide, hey man, this seems like it's working and we need to move forward, we need to be all in on this?
I think we went to a Chris Crone event in Utah probably sometime in January, and we kind of ironed out a blueprint, and we knew what we wanted to do at that point. We just didn't know how we were going to do it. So when we got the second deal, things started to kind of sort of fall in place, and we just needed deals and money at that point.
That's awesome. This is January of what? January of 2019? 22?
22.
Okay. Let's just take one step back though, because a question popped in my head, and I'm sure other people are going to be curious as well. Is so you kind of suggested earlier, said, we didn't know anything. We're stupid. We're just fumbling through this, and I gave you guys the credibility of the fact that you keep continuously to fumble through it, right? And working it out. During that time, I mean, did you guys have anybody there that was like your cheerleaders or kind of giving you any type of, hey, you guys are moving in the right direction, or you guys should consider this and that? Or were you guys literally just consuming content online? How was that going for you during that time, pre-January 22?
We were listening to all the Instagram gurus and guys like that said, we do this for another year or 6 months and we're multimillionaires. So that's kind of what was keeping us all charged up. Little did we know, yeah, none of them guys are around anymore.
Yeah. Look, let's give them a little bit of credit though. I guess they helped inspire you to keep going, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. So January 24, you go to the Chris Crone event, and then you guys come back and you had a blueprint. So at that point, what was did you guys kind of divide and conquer? Like you were looking for more deals, you were trying to find money, you were trying to do both? Like how was that going?
We were pretty much at that point just sending it. So both of us were trying to find deals, trying to find. I think we had given up on wholesaling at that point, and we were just going to try to take them all down ourselves. And we did it probably backwards. We would go find a deal, and then we would get it under contract, and then we would go scramble around and try to find financing.
I've heard a lot of people say that before too, and I definitely understand, there's a different preferred method, but I actually did the exact same thing. I don't know why. I just was like, I got to find the deal to know how much money I need. But obviously now I understand that you could find the money, and then you know what your budget is, so to speak, or kind of what you have to tackle. So in January of 22, you had 2 properties at that time?
January of 22, we'd have just had one.
And then after that event,
yeah, we would have bought the second one. Like 22 or 23, somewhere in that range.
So in roughly 48, 50 months, you went from 2 doors to 22 doors.
Yeah.
Talk me through that, TJ. Give me, it sounds like shit started moving in a good way.
It started moving, but I mean, technically nothing really changed. I think we just got a little bit better at finding deals, knew what we were looking for, and we got a little more comfortable with raising money and stuff like that.
Was it all local money?
I would say the first 10 deals was all local funds, no financing at all. So it was all cash.
That's still impressive, man. I mean, 20 doors and 24. Actually, I misspoke. I said 48. That's 4 years. Sorry, my math was way off. 24 to 26 months. That's amazing, man. And so are they all primarily single family homes? I know you said a mobile home too.
Well, they're all single fam. Well, yeah, we have mobile homes.
Couple double wides. They're not really mobiles. They're more like, most of them are like, we have 3 double wides, I think, but they have like a garage and they're an acre of land. So they're decent properties.
So we first met in, was it August of 23?
Yep.
In Cleveland. We were at Tim's Legacy event, pop-up mastermind. How'd you hear about that? How'd you get involved in that?
I was following Tim on social media for a while. I'm not sure. Somehow I came across him one day, and I'd seen his small pop-ups every now and then. And I think in the beginning of 23, I was like, we're going to go to one of them this year. And in August, nice. I seen it pop in Cleveland. I was like, let's go.
That's awesome.
When we went to do the pop-up, if we joined Legacy right away, it was half off the price to go to the pop-up. So we joined Legacy right away.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I had just gotten in myself at that time. So, yep, that was the same deal for me. Let's just deviate slightly. I want to touch on this topic because this is another one that's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs or even people that, have gotten off the ground. Masterminds, coaching, mentorship. Since you getting involved in that group, like how much do you think that that's helped educate you, helped get you better relationships, and how much has that assisted you since you've been involved in that?
There's always those things you're not 100% sure what to do. You meet somebody and they're like, this is what they would do, and it gives you a little more clarity. Or I don't think we would have quit our jobs as quick as if we wouldn't have went to that mastermind. And Mark and Tim were like, dude, you got to get out of your job.
The fear of Mark will do a lot of things to you.
I remember that, man. That was good. Thanks for refreshing my memory. That you guys were talking through some of your shit and they're like, bro, what the fuck? Quit your job. Like, go all in. But no, I asked that question because, again, one of the reoccurring themes is if I tell somebody, hey, I'm in a mastermind, or hey, I spent, X number of thousands of dollars to be in and around these people for the next, 48 hours, people are like, what? I mean, obviously other people that have done that are not saying that because they get it. But I think for a lot of people taking that leap of faith, and because there are people out there that are scams, and it's, you're getting over the mental block of investing that kind of capital on yourself, I think initially for many people, if they're being honest, is one of those challenging things. But, for people that have achieved high levels of success, typically if you ask them, if you had $5,000 left, what would you first invest in? And their responses, are typically, I would invest it in myself. So that's why I wanted to ask that, because I feel the exact same way. I think the masterminds are invaluable. I think the relationships, to steal your words, TJ, like you can't put a number on it. There's so many relationships we've made that have led to additional capital or additional opportunities. So right now, like, where are you guys at in your journey? Like, tell me one incident that you guys had that was like really challenging and potentially even started making you reconsider what you're doing.
We had a deal that we needed money for the next afternoon. Didn't have no money.
Dang.
Dwayne texts me up and like, hey, we need $100,000 by tomorrow morning. And we had made a mistake. We were going to get, refi money, hard money. And we told the attorney we're closing cash. We didn't realize that you had to be specific on that. And the attorney emailed me and was like, hey, where's the money? And we're like, well, the hard money lender is supposed to be coming through. And she flipped out a little bit. And so we, had to come up with cash. And the funny part of it was we both managed to come up with the same amount of cash. I called Dwayne and he texted me about the same time that I was like, well, I got the money. And he's like, well, I do too. So I got, well, one of us got to go back and tell the guy we don't need their money after all.
Or you could find another deal.
It was kind of hairy. So what you said.
So you found the money in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive testament to most likely people watching you and gaining credibility in what it is that you guys were doing. Again, you said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I'm sure there was probably some people hemming and hawing, and then you guys are making it happen. And they're like, wait, it's actually working. They're doing exactly what they said they were. I mean, come up with that kind of money. It's not an exorbitant amount, but that's not chump change at all, man. Congratulations. Kudos. That's pretty cool. So back to my question though, at that point though, you guys had this moment of you're like, what the F are we doing?
I don't know that I've ever really had a too serious of a moment where I've been thinking of quitting. I mean, occasionally, maybe more so now, but like that moment there wasn't so much that thinking about quitting, but it was like, dude, we fricked up bad. We should have, like that definitely was a stressful 24 hours that we found the money, because the sellers were talking of suing. And I mean, it was both attorneys that we've done a lot of deals with. So, they're like, well, what do you mean? You told us you had cash. I'm like, well, shit.
Doesn't that mean that it's cash? Yeah. Man, you pulled it off though, man. I hope you guys went to your favorite dinner after that one, because that's good, man. Nice job. I had a couple questions I wrote down before we started this whole thing. We've kind of talked about different aspects of this, but I just want to bring this one up. So the question is, with becoming an entrepreneur, like what has been the most difficult challenge that you've had to overcome? For me,
I mean, I'm a lot more of an outgoing person. So I like, going out, hanging out with friends and stuff. And just the fact that, you got to spend a lot more time, studying stuff, and, your business takes up a lot more time. And I still tend to be that guy that'll go out and, probably go out and spend more time with friends and stuff than I should. Should be spending more time on the business. But for me, that was one thing that was a little bit harder.
No, that's great, man. I read in a book, somebody classified that as delayed gratification, right? Because, I served for 24 years, and typically the young private comes into the military. The first thing they do is they go out and buy a sports car, and then they have a $400 or $500 a month insurance payment, a $400 and a $500 car payment, and then they have no money to drive the car because they couldn't wait. And so, you're referring to something else, which is I enjoy going out and entertaining and spend time hanging out with my friends and my family, or whatever. But you're delaying that gratification, to build a better life for you, and offer you more opportunities. So kudos to you, man. I think what's amazing is just that you guys are the age that you're at, yet you have the mindset and the goals and aspirations that you do, and that you're working towards them every day. What about you, Dwayne? What has hit you the most as far as like being on this entrepreneurial journey? Is like the biggest challenge? It could be mindset, it could be, an opportunity, it could be anything.
That's a tough question. I was been thinking about it. I'm not 100% sure.
No, I was just going to say, it sounds to me from what you shared with us this far is that you read that book and you were inspired, and that book just continued to fuel you. And then obviously you passed it to, TJ, and you guys partnered up. And that's another great thing about your guys' story is that you guys are doing it as a partnership. And so I'm sure it helps out by you guys being able to, lift each other up in times when things are shit. Well, you just gave a perfect example of that. Bro, we need $100,000 by tomorrow. He's like, what?
Probably what I would say that, like, for me, I don't know, like, if it really makes sense, but like the biggest struggle for me is not going fast enough, like not where I want to be, and I don't have the money I want. Like I always feel like we're not going fast enough, and I always felt like that by this point that I'd be, a millionaire and be living the dream life, but that's not the case.
Well, one thing that one of our mutual mentors says to us repeatedly and has really resonated with me a lot is, as a real estate investor, you are cash poor and equity rich. And I remember when I first heard that, and I was like, he's 100% right. Like, super proud of what we've achieved on great pathways. But the reality is, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to get into real estate investing and I'm going to be cash flowing all this money. And there are some cool stories of some people doing significantly well right out of the gate. But I don't think that that's the case. I think typically it's slow money. You're playing the long game. You're waiting for things to appraise. You're waiting for your equity to be bought down. And so you continue to grow on paper, and that's awesome. It's a great feeling as well, but it's not necessarily dumping a ton of cash in your bank account every day. So I feel that one very much, for sure. Yeah, man. I think it's amazing. I think your guys' story is amazing. I think the fact that you went from 2 doors to 22 doors and as I said, 24 months. That's amazing. So where's it going from here? So you guys got your 22 doors. What's your 3 to 5 year plan? Like, have you guys thought about that? Where you want your goals to be at?
Haven't structured the 3 to 5 year. We've stuck with 1 year. So like we want to buy 50 deals by the end of the year. We have 13 under contract currently, so that'll put us close to 35.
Good job, man. And you continue to resource all the capital locally?
Yeah. Well, we've gone to some private money lenders now, but everything's been fairly local. We're also getting to the point where we're starting to do cash out refinances pretty regularly as we finish the property up.
Yeah, that's part of what I was going to ask. And then I was going to ask if you guys had started building any relationships with local lenders.
We're working on that. Got started on that probably this year, or more so, I think since probably Mark, like when we were out there in Cleveland, I think we've started to build relationships with the banks. We have a lot of cards playing against us though, because we're young and we grew a portfolio so fast and just everything. They tend to be conservative with us. Like our most recent loan, they closed out at 53% loan to value. Like that's just ridiculous. Like they have 47% equity. It's like, oh,
yeah. obviously I agree with you as a fellow investor. That seems fairly low, particularly on a single family house. But as you're well aware of, I think giving all the factors that you're saying on top of the fact that people are stressed out with the economic times and the interest rates, the cost of money and election year and all that stuff, it's all kind of playing against this. We just refinanced a commercial one and it came in significantly lower loan to value that they would allow.
Yeah.
This popped in my head and I wanted to remember to say it because you guys were talking about, or you specifically, Dwayne, you said you wanted to get somewhere faster. Just, it sounds to me like you guys are continuing to educate yourself and read a bunch of books as well. Have you came across the one called Compound Effect?
I haven't.
Yeah, I think that's a great book if you get a chance. As the title describes, it just goes into the fact that you just keep getting the base hits, man. Get a double. Maybe you pop a triple here and there. Maybe every once in a while you get a home run and you got two people on base and you bring them in. Like you said, you're starting to cash out these. But the more that starts happening and the more consistent it becomes, the more that you're going to be in a position where you don't need them anymore. Your net worth and all that will continue to rise. So I'm going to kind of wind down here and I want to kind of leave on one departing question, which is, I think it's super cool that you kind of stumbled upon this yourself and kind of almost self-inspired yourself, through the book and stuff to keep going. But if you were given one piece of advice to somebody else that's trying to get in the game, or they just gotten in the game, but struggling, what would be your top piece of advice that you would offer?
For me, it would be to go find a mentor, somebody you don't have to go for somebody like that's 10 levels above you, but just somebody that's at least 2 levels above you. That's one thing that I wish we would have done earlier. We had all these social media mentors, but nobody that was giving us real direct value, looking in on our business. This is what you should be doing.
I love it. Yeah. I'm not even going to digress, but I love that because I just recently talked about it with somebody else. I said something very similar. What about you, TJ?
If you didn't start yet, go for it. If you're sitting there debating, once you get a mentor, they're going to say, go for it. And they can't really help. They can help you lay out a deal, but once they help you lay it out, it's up to you to pull the trigger and jump for it. That's just as scary as laying down the money for the mentor.
Amen, man. I drill that one home all the time, right? If you're not going to take that leap, if you're not going to put the plan into implementation, then it's just going to sit there, rot, and grow cobwebs. So no, I really appreciate that. I'd love to circle back, have you guys on later and hear how things have transpired, see if you hit your 50-door goal. And again, I'm just thankful. I'm grateful that you guys came on. I just wanted to try to share your story with some other people. I think it's pretty inspiring. All right, you guys take care, and I'll see you on the next side, okay?